Maybe not what you said to do it for around like that.
Good evening, good morning, or good night from wherever in the world you're joining us from today. And welcome to the current FringeCast on marketing your show for this year's Fringe. It's all very exciting. I want you to welcome you here today. Thanks for joining us. I think the first thing we're going to do, though, is hi.
Hello.
Cut to us here in the room, so as you can see who's going to be talking to you today. So I'll start by introducing myself. Hi, I'm Alan. I'm the registration manager here at the Fringe Society. So I've been looking after putting the programme together and everyone's show registrations, and also helping to put together some of our events like this. Amy, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Amy Taylor. I'm the media and marketing advisor at Fringe. Some of you might have emailed me already. I'm here to help with press release questions, talking about approaching the media, that kind of thing.
Hello,
You.
I'm Daniel.
Who are you?
I'm the digital marketing coordinator here at the Fringe Society, which means I look after our social media, our email marketing, and then all the tech behind the scenes today. So if you can't hear us, that's my fault. Do let us know.
Daniel set
in the
this
live
all
chat.
up. It's all
Yeah.
him.
So we're going to turn off the webcam just so we can relax. So goodbye for now on the webcam at least. FringeCasts. We want to.
How do they work, Dan?
How do they work? So if you've never tuned in before, or you might be tuning online later, FringeCasts are essentially live streamed interactive podcasts. So anything can happen. We don't script them. We just have a rough structure of things we want to cover. But we really want to hear from you guys and know what you want to know about promoting and marketing your show. We're going to cover a few things today, and Alan's going to talk about what they are.
Yeah.
But essentially, we want you to go into the live chat on YouTube and tell us what you want to know about marketing and promoting your show. Alternatively, if you can't get onto the live chat, you can also tweet us using the FringeCast hashtag. As we go along, I'll be trying to pop URL links into the live chat. So if Alan or Amy mention something on our website or some other resources, I will try and link to them so you don't have to scribble them down now. And this live chat is retained after this session is over.
I'm quite guilty for, without warning, just being like, Daniel, just pop that in the live chat.
And along with the live chat, this whole video is recorded as we go. So you don't need to rewind now. Just stick with us. If you've missed something, you can catch up later.
And as Daniel says, like, we've done a fair few of these now, and genuinely, the best ones are always when people engage with us, let us know what they're thinking, so as we can sort of tailor them to you. It's very much about you.
So today, what are we going to cover?
We're going to cover a whole ton. We're going to be covering the Fringe and its scale, and what that means for marketing. We're going to be talking about your next steps and then putting a timeline in place. But then we're also going to be looking at the fundamentals of what you need to be thinking about now. And we're going to be doing that because I think it might not be what some of you think it is. We're going to really take it back to the bare bones of making sure you have everything in place to start your campaign. And a lot of it is to do with thinking rather than acting at this stage, and it's making sure you've laid the foundations before you build your lovely house. First of my weird metaphors of the evening.
Well done.
So the first thing we're going to do, as always, is just tell you a little bit about us, and we are representing here the Fringe Society. Just to give you a bit of context about where we sit in the beautiful jigsaw that is the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. So the Fringe Society is a charity. We've been around from around 10 years after the very first Fringe. We came about in the late 50s and are very much here to support the Fringe in every sense. So we support audiences with the box office and information points. We market the festival to the world at large. But one of the main remits of us is to support participants. We're here to make sure that everyone involved feels supported and has the best possible experience they can. We really want you to make the most of your time at the Fringe and the most of the services we can provide. If those of you listening today, which hopefully a lot of you have registered with the Fringe, you'll have paid a registration fee. That registration fee doesn't just cover a listing in the programme and us selling your tickets. It covers the participant services team and all of their teams here at the Fringe Society that can help you make the most of your time at the Fringe. So because of that, one of the words we always throw around is impartial. We're the most impartial people around. We're like very, very functional parents. We love everyone the same. But where that ties into marketing, I guess you've got a big say in this, Daniel, because you run our social media, is about the fact that we don't play favourites at all.
Exactly. So you say the Fringe Society was created in the late 50s, 10 years after the Fringe began. And it was created by Fringe artists to try to make sense of it all, because there were tens of shows just coming together, putting shows on. So they came together to make a program and to start building a box office. And we were created in that sort of ethos. So for that reason, like Alan says, we don't promote shows on social media. You will never see us say, go see this show. Instead, our job is here to say, come to the Fringe, see what's on offer. And then that's why we provide the box office, and we provide the website, and we provide the app. On that, one of the first questions that came in from Michelle that probably helps clear this up is she is asking, what are the main differences between marketing a show at Ed Fringe opposed to any other venue or event? So I guess as part of this, just like the role of us as a society, how we're here to advise, but you register, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can grab this one. What I would say the main difference is some festivals where if you're invited to come, or if it's a venue where maybe you're touring, you will be part of that organisation's marketing.
Yeah.
You will be in their brochure. You will. They might send out recommendations about your show to their marketing databases, things like that. They're almost like they've got a inbuilt remit to help you, and we help you, but in a very different way, because we're an open access festival and we don't program. It's very much the onus is on you. It's very much a self-producing festival a lot of the time. The work you're bringing is about. So you're going to have to be the artist and kind of the business head. And that's hopefully what we can help you with today. Because it's something, I guess, a bit of background. I like to say that I come at this from a participant point of view. I don't have any nice degrees in marketing. I was a participant who did this myself and had to be producer, PR, playwright, all of that stuff. And that ties in quite nicely to Amy, who do you want to discuss sort of what your role is, because it has a very key point in supporting artists,
yes,
but also kind of your background and what, because you kind of bring the opposite from what I bring.
I'll start with my background since you're finishing with that. So my background is I have reviewed at the Fringe since 2009 for various publications. My background is arts journalism, specifically theatre. I was, up until recently, the theatre editor of The Skinny. So I can look at this from the journalist point of view, very much so. So that is why I'm here. Like I mentioned earlier, I help with press releases. I know what journalists are looking for. I know what they're not looking for. And I really want to share the phrases and things to avoid saying to journalists.
And today we're kind of covering topics in an order in a way that we understand is ideal.
Yes.
Because often some people maybe come to the Fringe looking at other festivals and how they work and say that's the same. And the Fringe is unusual in many different ways. Totally. So we're kind of here to help advise what you should prioritise and when you should do it.
Do you know what? Like, so the three of us put this session together, and the thing that kept running through my mind as we did it is, these are the stuff I wish people had told me, or I wish I'd got in touch with the Fringe Society earlier.
Yes.
Because I think in my head, I was like, oh, I need to sell tickets and get reviews. I need to do all of that.
Yeah.
And actually, what we're going to talk about in the main thing is a step before all that. Mm-hmm. And I really wish someone had just nudged me into thinking earlier.
Yes.
Because I hope everything we tell you today will make a positive impact on all that stuff that comes down the line.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to say it's great to see so many questions coming in. For many of them, we actually have an ideal point to cover them. We either have a slide or a discussion about that. So I'm not ignoring you if I haven't brought your question up yet. But do keep sending them in, because there will be opportune moments for me to put them to the guys in the room to share their advice.
Great. Let's tally on, as I know we've got a lot to say, and time is of the essence. Yes. It's the first time I've ever said tally on. So that's a fun first time to say that. So the figures that are now coming up on the screen is not a case of us bragging, like, oh, look, we're really big. What this is about is actually giving you a sense of what Edinburgh is like in August. And obviously what we've done there is that's just the Fringe. There are many, many festivals happening in Edinburgh in August. And it's important not to be intimidated by those numbers, but I would say to be aware of those numbers.
Yeah, we're not telling you this to scare you.
Yeah.
We just want you to know.
And I think it's really important, because having an awareness of what you're going into, it can be a bit of a culture shock arriving at the Fringe. And I think it's really important that to find your, to know that anyone you're dealing with, so if you're emailing a journalist, or, I don't know, trying to engage someone who might want to book your show and you want them to see it in August, they might have been dealing with 3,500
Yes.
like other shows. And I guess this is just a thing we like to get in people's heads of. So it's understanding that scale's a thing, but actually it's about finding how your show sits within that as a whole.
Yeah, and finding the kind of noise that you need to make to be heard.
Yeah. And so I always say, I don't always say it. Something I've sort of said. The longer I've worked at the Fringe, the more important I think it is, Amy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you think from a journalist point of view, but actually, if you can understand like your tribe in the Fringe, if you can find your people,
find your people. Absolutely, find your people.
So actually, those 3,500 shows plus are not your competition as such. The great thing, because the audience is so diverse, if you can find shows similar to yourself, if you can start to be looking through shows as they go on sale, or from 5th of June when you've got that full programme.
That just links really well to a question sent in by Jack, who was asking, how can
Jack.
How can I
Hello,
best
Jack.
identify and connect with prospective audience members who are interested in a show like mine? So that is one of the key starting points.
Yeah.
If you can find, in FringeCast in the past, we've been like, look at 2018's programme and see that, but actually, there are now a huge amount of shows already on sale. There's another batch coming on sale next week, 16th of May. There'll be a whole new batch. And then the 5th of June, the full printed programme will be released. Use edfringe.com's search filters. They're there for audiences, but they're also very much there for you guys. If you can find like other new writing, or find the other shows that are in your venue is going to be your home away from home. And if they're planning like a social thing, you want to go to it. And that's not just because they tend to be really fun. I've been to a couple. But also like just from a practical sense of finding people who are going to be doing the same kind of challenges as you. So you can be like, these are people who can exit flyer with me, or...
Just on that, so what is, just to clarify, if people aren't familiar, exit flyering, what is that?
So that's... Do you want to run with exit flyering?
Yeah, exit flying is basically when people flyer outside a venue when shows are finished. So they, it's like when you leave a theatre and they have flyers for their next production. It's that kind of idea where they catch you go, hey, you enjoyed this show, maybe you'll enjoy this show.
Small disclaimer, always check that you're allowed to do it.
Yes, always ask first.
And it's why I mentioned it being in your own venue, because that's kind of your home away from home, and sometimes other venues won't like you flyering for shows not in their venue.
Yes.
But it can be a really good way of just finding people like you. So they're not your competition for audience. They're actually your people where you can approach a journalist and say, I've seen these 5 shows that are all dealing with, I don't know, climate change. Like, how would you like to do a piece on that as a whole?
Yeah.
And just on that competition point, other shows would be competition if someone came to the Fringe and only saw one show and you were fighting for them to buy that one ticket, but they're not. And a lot of people tend to see shows in a similar area, whether it's the same category of a program or tackling a certain issue. So you can kind of bounce off each other.
Do you know a final point I'm going to make? So we should move on, because as I say, lots of tally-hoing to do. But one thing I would say is, because it's not planned anywhere else, is Fringe Central is our home during the Fringe. It's our participants hub. It sits just off George Square. And what's a really good thing about that is, well, one, we're based there. You can very much book in and come and say hello to Amy and have a bit of advice session.
Yes.
But actually, sometimes it's not about getting a medical piece of advice. It's about going, this is somewhere where I can hang out, do printing, do photocopying, stick stars on a flyer. But it's also somewhere where I can take a break and chat to other people who are
have
going...
a coffee.
Yeah, totally.
And just on that, I hope it's kind of answering your question, Adam, who was asking, is there a central resource hub to enable organisations and individuals to support each other's shows, like a resource sharing initiative to encourage people to work together? Fringe Central is kind of that. We have a range of different events covering a number of topics, like it's typically more than 100 different events. And it is also just a social networking and meeting space.
And also, it's free.
Yeah.
We don't charge you to go in. The events are all free. Please come and
It's all part of your
This is for
registration.
you.
Yeah. And genuinely, if you can find your people, like, because the Fringe, I love the Fringe. I'm a little bit obsessed with it. As you can tell, I work here. But even I will have that moment where it starts to feel like it's a bit much. It can start to feel overwhelming because you're running a show for a month. A lot of the times it can be a new show. So actually there's going to be days that are more difficult. And actually, if you've kind of found your people and you can be like, I'm having a really tough day, can you help me with some flyering?
You've curated your own support group.
Yeah. Or there's sometimes... This sounds a bit insane, but someone being able to go to you, oh, I'm having a really bad day too. And you suddenly realizing, oh, hang on, this is normal.
You're all in this together.
Yeah, we're not expected to be like up every day.
So now we've covered that. We've briefly touched upon the scale of the Fringe. I've noticed a few people have joined a little bit late, so I just wanted to say that these sessions are interactive and they're live. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like us to cover, just head up to the live chat in YouTube. It's in the top right-hand corner on a desktop. It's under a button that says live chat on a mobile device. But next, you've established how big the Fringe is and what you've sort of let yourself into. What now?
What now? God, it's like we planned this, Daniel. Yeah, I would say there are some questions that you fundamentally are going to need to answer, and these are the questions we're talking about. Basically, these questions are what this whole session is about. Understanding what your show is, who it's for, what does it look like, they all sound very, very simple. And it sounds like, really, you're doing a whole FringeCast on that? They're deceptively difficult and like unequivocally important. But actually, Amy, I know you are a big purveyor of actually there's maybe a point missing on that screen.
Yes. The final one is why? Why are you
right at the
coming
top.
to the Fringe? And I know, again, these seem like really simple questions, but through registering the show and getting all the preparation done, you can kind of lose sight of your original thoughts and your original feelings. So it's good to just even ask yourself one day to sit down and write it down and say, right, why am I coming to the Fringe? What do I want to do? Who is this for? You know, what is my show about? How would I sum it up in 30 seconds to someone?
And the reason that goes right to the top is your why will affect everything else. If you're coming because actually you just want to have a laugh with your mates, great, that's going to take a lot of pressure off everything you're doing.
Yes.
If you're coming because you want to make serious advancements in your career, that means, I'm going to want to do X, Y, and Z. So it's a very sort of core question to get right, is that why is it? Why are you coming to the world's largest arts festival? Like what?
And there are no wrong answers.
And it's one that it's worth like having a chat with someone who doesn't know your show, like a friend or a family member, just to explain like why are you coming to the Fringe. And if they say, I didn't know that, or you may forget to say something that which to you is obvious, because this show has been your life. But to them, like, you forgot to mention this show is about climate change or whatever it is. We're stuck on that theme for some reason. It's worth asking other people, because they may say you should mention this, or have you thought about that? And this will help you find, like you say, your tribe or the people who will be interested in your show. It's once you understand properly what your show is.
Yes.
Totally. So what we wanted to do before we go in and break down each of those sort of questions a bit more is give you just kind of like a rough timeline of the things you should be doing and in what order. So this, I would say you're in the research phase, which is preparing all of your thoughts, getting everything down on paper of what shows are similar to you, who is it you're targeting, everything will be going. And once you've got that in place, that's when everything else kicks off, which on that list. That's when you want to start establishing your social media presence, which more to follow on that. You'll be wanting to get your design all sorted for your print. And then you want to prepare your press release, which is a lovely Amy will be able to help
Absolutely,
with.
yes.
And then it's contact the media. And at that point, you've kind of done... That's almost... If you've done all of those things and in that order by the end of June, and you're sort of sitting like, okay, I've done everything, that's when you can then sort of reevaluate and get ready. And if you do those things and get those up and running, it is going to make your August much easier.
So speaking from the perspective as a journalist, if someone sends you a press release in May, what do you do with that typically?
I file it in a folder in my email called Fringe 2019, because I know this might seem strange, because with tickets on sale now, I can't physically book a press ticket until late July, early August, because the press ticket system is a different system from the ticket buying system. And there's really not a lot I can do with press releases in May until the programme launches out, and then I can think about the scale of this year's Fringe and, how many writers I might need, or what I want to cover, or what the themes are. And that's an important one. I go, what do we want to write about? Who would I like to interview? So I don't really... you can contact the press now if you want to, but I find it's better to wait until a little bit later. Like two too late is obviously August, but too early is what happened with me last year. Somebody emailed me in November about their show at the Fringe, and that got put in the Ed Fringe 2019
And there's no point, rushing to get a press release out to a contact that's going to file it away when there are so many other things you could do, whether that is on social media, whether that's designing your flyers or deciding to book posters.
I also think the reason, and it's kind of what I was talking about earlier about wishing I'd kind of taken a step back. I used to do Amy's job, actually, and so I have a lot of experience of people coming up with lots of different questions, and you would not believe the amount of times people come and I was like, how can I help? What are you looking for? And they're like, oh, I want to get reviewers in. And I'm like, cool, we can talk about that. Why? And they were like, oh, to get audiences. And I was like, okay, well, actually, if you're looking to get audiences, reviews can help, but there's a whole host of things you should probably be doing first.
And this is the point I'm often making to people is a review forms part of your marketing, but it is not by itself your marketing. And shows can be critically successful, but not commercially successful, or commercially successful, not critically successful, or both. It's a funny old game. And I think if you really need to think about why you want a review, why you're contacting the media, and it's okay to not want a review. That is absolutely fine.
I also think it's important that we're honest with the fact that obviously, like, print journalism is...
It's in a funny place just now.
It's not in a completely thriving place.
And we've seen this reflected in Fringe coverage over the years in that arts sections are always the first to be cut when magazines, newspapers, websites aren't doing well. That's the first for the chop, and that's hard.
Yeah, totally. And that's not us being, again, I don't want to sound doom and gloom at all. What it means is you want to make sure that your marketing and what you're doing is robust enough that a review enhances that, great, but it doesn't rely upon it.
Exactly. It's not the cake, it's the cherry on top of the cake.
I have a question from Colin for which there may not be an exact answer, which is often the way with the Fringe. But Colin's just down the road in sunny Leith right now.
Hi, Colin in sunny Leith.
And he's just asking, so when should I send out my publicity? So in this sense, we're talking about a press release.
Yeah.
Is there a magical day that we keep secret?
It's a great question, and it's probably the most commonly asked question. What we're advising people is around the time of the Fringe programme launch, which is the 5th of June. And that is because once the programme comes out, as I said, that's when, as an editor, I'm thinking about what I want to cover, who I want to write for me, how much space I might have in the magazine, and all the other things involved in that. Because any earlier... I'm just a bit wary because I don't really want to rely on anything. So once I know when the programme's out and I can go through it, that's when I'm like, right, I want stories, I want people to talk to, I want things to write about. Give me.
And that's you speaking with your journalist hat on, but with your media advice hat on. We're talking about programme launch being a good time to send out releases, but right now is a great time to be writing that release, and we're here to advise with that process, aren't we?
Yeah, that's exactly what I can do, and you can send me your press release and I will send you feedback. I've got documents that can help you write your press release. If you've never written one before, don't worry about it, that's fine. And like there is... I think a lot of people are worried about what to put in their press release. I can guide you with that. There's lots of things you can say that, and sometimes what I'm finding more and more, which is quite sweet, is people are really burying the story right at the bottom of the press release, and I'm here to basically help rearrange it and get the story up the top.
I don't think you guys have intended to do it, but you've beautifully segued into what we wanted to talk about next. Now, I always call this So Tell Me About Your Show. And I don't know if Amy does it, but I did. Every single session I had with a participant when I spoke to an artist started with, so tell me about your show. And it's because it's the thing I hated people asking when I was a participant. I hated with gay abandon. The first time I ever did a show, I think I could market someone else's show till the cows came home. Tell me about your show and I can help you pitch it. But I think it's frightening the first time someone says, so tell me about your show, because chances are you've been working on said show for maybe a year, maybe more than that. Or maybe the idea behind it has been percolating for that long. Or even if it's more recent than that, one thing is you know everything about that show. You know what you're trying to do. You know what it does. You know maybe what you're trying to do and it doesn't. And suddenly someone is asking you for a snappy, concise answer to tell me about your show. And I think it's frightening.
It is. It's when you're really, really close to a subject, is that you
Absolutely.
find it hard to look at it objectively. So even if you're going through a problem and you didn't know how to solve it, and then somebody went, oh, why don't you do that? You go, oh, that's really easy. And sometimes you just need a different perspective. It's the same with the shows. If you're so close to it and you're so engrossed in it, you can't see it from an outsider's perspective. And sometimes it's hard to pull out the aspects of that you need to tell people.
So basically what we're talking about here is knowing your pitch. It's about developing that. It's something called an elevator pitch, which sounds really corporate, but it's true. It's like that. To go between one floor and an elevator to the next, could you tell someone exactly what your show is? And it's about understanding the hook of your show. Amy, you've got like a little slogan. I don't want to steal it.
Oh, thank you. Say, it's a story pitch, not a sales pitch. Thank you.
But I think it's about knowing what you're selling, essentially. Like, to put it in like sort of sales speak, you're not selling, I'm doing a Fringe show, because there are thousands of people doing that. What's your unique story? What's special about your show? Maybe you're the selling point. Maybe there's something really unique about you. Maybe it's the fact that it's just like you're brand new and this is the first chance to see you. But I cannot overestimate how difficult this stage is, but how important it is.
Just on this, we've had a few people asking questions. I realised we forgot the key detail. So if people want to send in a release,
Yes.
I've popped this in the live chat, but if you don't see the live chat, who do they contact?
It's me, and my email address is mediaadvice@edfringe.com.
There you go. I've popped that in the live chat. But essentially, if you email that, if you're not sure about anything, if it's about performing at the Fringe, if you email participants@edfringe.com, it will find the right person.
Yes. We're very good at forwarding emails onto the right person.
We love a triage. A word I didn't know until I wrote
it's a group effort.
Yeah. And the last thing I kind of wanted to say about this slide, because this slide I'm very passionate about, as you might have guessed, is so I've talked about how painful this can be, but actually, once you've got it right, you can use it to talk to anyone, to talk to a journalist, to talk to a potential audience member out in the street, to talk to someone who might be interested in coming to book your show for like a future tour. So, and that can feel like shameless kind of self-promotion. It's almost like when you write your CV and you're like, oh, this feels cringe.
I can't big myself up so much.
So actually, rehearse it. Like, if you write your show, like write it like you would a script for your show. And then I think it's really useful to, if you're lucky to have like other people in your company, or if you're a one-person band, if you've got people who've seen the show or know your work, like get together and like write down 5 bullet points that you think sell the show or are unique. Don't talk about them. Because we've all had those conversations where you start by being like, oh, we're all going to like talk about the diverse things. And you end up just jumping on the carousel of the same things you've been talking about for months. Yeah. Whereas actually people have to go away and come up with 5 bullet points. Chances are something's going to come up. I always say with that, my first Fringe show, it was like, I kept saying, oh, it's kind of funny, but kind of sad. And the dog dies, which was bad. But like one of our actors, described it. He kept getting, when we were flying down the line, he kept getting like 3 times as many people as the rest of us. And I was like, what are you saying? Because it's working. And then he was like, oh, I'm just saying it's a black comedy. And I was like, what? Yeah. That is the most obvious thing in the world. But I was too close to it.
The key is to remember that the people you're talking to are people, even journalists are people.
Yeah.
And just imagine that you maybe bump into somebody in the street that you know, but maybe not so well, like a neighbour or a friend of the friend. How would you distill your show down to like 2 sentences?
Yeah.
You can do it.
Totally. And it's important. Like, it sounds like we've been talking about this a long time, but honestly, getting this right will affect everything else. It's like what Amy says when people send a press release and she gets the story in like paragraph 4.
Yes.
That has to be in paragraph 1 or the heading.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on to our next topic, we've had quite a lot of questions come in. There'd be a good chance to cover some of them off. I'll ask these 2 questions together because they're kind of linked. The first is from Jill, which is simply, how do you find the right journalists? And the second is from Gerard, who asks, who says, I'm only doing the last week of the Fringe, so is it worth contacting the press?
Well, hello, Jill and Gerard. The way you find the right press is we have a media contact list that we send out to all participants. It goes out automatically to the person listed as your primary media contact. So while some people might have hired a PR person, it will go out to them. And that will be going out later this month. And it has a list of lots of people who've covered the Fringe before. When you get that, get all the names, research it, Google them, find out what publications do they work for, or what's the publication like, what do they tend to cover, what do you think their audience is like. So if you've got a show about dance, find the dance writers on that list, and think about what you'd say to them. And with the second one, when it comes to dates, I get a bit annoyed when people talk about, oh, I'm only coming up on this date. Like, great, short run at the Fringe, fantastic. If you want the press, it's worth contacting the press and contact them early and say, this is when I'm going to be up in the last week. You know, I don't think you should worry about when you're coming up. It's just like contact anyway if you want reviews. If you don't, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I would... Sorry, Daniel.
Go ahead. I had a different question.
Yeah, I was just going to say my 2 pence on that was just the one thing. If you're doing a limited run, I'd say the only difference is make sure you tell people. Like
Amy,
it's
not a full run.
Like Amy said that, short run at the Fringe, and not in a negative point, but just like
absolutely not.
Everyone has. I don't know everyone. I know I have a bad habit of when I'm looking for shows to see, I get that guilty habit of like, oh, I've got a whole month to see everything.
Yeah.
You want people to know if they don't have that full month.
Yes, exactly.
And just on that, there's been some love for story pitching rather than sales pitching. There's a follow-up comment saying like story pitches, sort of asking or stating, story pitches shouldn't give too much away. And it's a bit of a balance to strike because you've got to give the information.
It's tough. If it's like a well-known show like Romeo and Juliet, most people know the story, and you've got to find a nice way to spin that. Be like the classic love story, Romeo and Juliet, retold on, I don't know, a basketball court or something like that. And you've got to, that's your hook because it's a new version of it on a sports arena. I don't know if maybe somebody's doing that this year. I don't know. So yeah, and then if it's a new play, new writing, find the key, find the angle. I can't really think of an example right now, but just think about what you want people to know because you can control the story.
Yeah, and I think it's what you're pitching is like the flavor of the story rather than the specifics.
The themes.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So like if you're pitching something like Game of Thrones, you're pitching like it's an epic fantasy battle with humanity, like
and
at the heart
dragons
of it.
and zombies.
But you're not saying like, oh, there's lots of murder and lots of so you're not giving away the twists and turns, but you're giving away the feel and the flavor of what you can expect.
Like your actor was saying, it's a black comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A different question topic. Not entirely.
Loving all the questions.
Thank you for the questions.
So a question from Tracy, and a similar question from Jasmine. So Tracy's question was, can we recommend any PR firms and whether that's the right route to go? And then Jasmine has asked that they've been offered a one-to-one session with a PR company. Is it worth it versus having someone helping you for a full run? And I guess my question is, do you need a PR?
I always say you are the best person to tell the story of your show.
Amen.
But PR, it takes time. And if you feel you don't have the time or the energy and you feel you have the funds to hire a PR, then go out and try and find, not any PR, the right PR
Absolutely.
for you. So it needs to be somebody who, say if you have a theatre show, go to a theatre PR. Don't go to like a generic PR agency. Or if you have, again, I'm just going to say dance, find a PR that deals with dance shows or has done in the past, so they kind of have those industry contacts.
And a good PR should want to find that match.
Yes, exactly.
So
exactly.
There's PRs out there who know the kind of work that they can best promote and work towards that. So if they're queer friendly, or if Amy says they focus on dance, they are going to want that. If it's not a good match, if it's not a good marriage, then that's not going to work for everyone. But we have a publicist contact list.
We do, and we can email me. I can send you it. We have to be impartial. This is the word that's going to bounce about a lot tonight. So I can't recommend any particular PR to anyone, but I can give you a list of PRs that have worked at the Fringe before and encourage you to talk to them, see if they can set you up with a proposal. And if somebody's asked to meet you, and talk about, sure, go and meet them, have a coffee with them. It's always better to meet people in person. Like just doing stuff via email, it can be a bit impersonal, a bit cold. Find out and ask them loads of questions because you are the client.
That's what I was going to say. What we can recommend is ask questions. Like, don't be afraid to ask anything because you'd much rather, even if it means you don't end up working together, if you just ask the questions and figure out it's not a match, it's much better figuring out it's a match before money has changed
Yes,
hands,
exactly,
or
exactly.
before you're down the line and suddenly realizing this isn't working and it's now August.
And
Yes.
it's really, really worth us reiterating that reviews are just one part of
Again,
that marketing
one
jigsaw.
part of your marketing
And we've had
jigsaw.
lots of people get in touch, and you're not alone when you're saying we've got a limited budget to promote this show or to put the production on. So you've got to think, you've got to weigh up, is the value of hiring someone to do this going to take away from postering or flyering, for which we've had lots of questions about. It's not, no one thing is going to make your show a success. They've all got to work together.
Can I also say one sort of final point on this is, if you're like, because you're paying for something, but to be fair to both you and to the PR, please be crystal clear about what you expect from them.
Yes.
And what they expect from you. Because we know a lot of the PRs would like friendly with them. A lot of them come in the media office. We have good working relationships with them. And actually we see their frustration when they're like, they thought that they'd sort of made it clear that they wanted me to do this, but this was never on the table.
Yeah.
You want to be like, it's far better to like over egg something, to be like, oh, are you going to be handling
it
our
in
social
writing.
Are you going to be handling our social media? Are you like, you want to be crystal clear of what the expectations are on both ends,
Yeah.
I would say.
And if you can't afford it, if you know you're going to struggle to afford a PR, don't.
It's not a necessity to have.
Absolutely not. No.
We have had lots of questions. I've tried to tackle some of them in the live chat. Some people have been talking about postering and flyering. We can briefly touch upon that. But marketing at the Fringe is such a big topic. We've split this up into multiple sessions. So today's this overview, and it's looking at the kind of things you can do in this May to June window. We have specific sessions on flyering and postering, but just as a sneak peek for that, I'm going to throw some questions at you. The first question is from David, who says, I've been to the Fringe several times and all the poster-worthy locations seem to be licensed or sold in advance. Am I missing something?
No, you're pretty spot on. Well, in a sense, there's a company called Out of Hand that have the contract from the council who do all the outdoor advertising for the Fringe.
That's right.
All the legal outdoor advertising for the Fringe.
Wink, wink.
So everything you see that might be like attached to a railing or on a lamppost, that is all agreed to be there by this one company who have slots. Now, the slots open up kind of, I was going to say sporadically, that's the wrong word. They have like different on-sale dates essentially. So they don't put all their availability up at once and then it all goes. They hold stuff off so as you can get... I would recommend heading to their website, getting in touch with them, seeing if they have what you're currently looking for.
I'll just pop some links in there because it's kind of such a large topic in itself.
It's huge. Yeah, and knowing what's available or when stuff will next be available. There's Fringe sites around town, specifically on the Royal Mile. We have our poster pillars where you can absolutely put posters, but anyone can put posters. So the shelf life of those isn't great.
Yeah, you have to be quite proactive in just getting your poster out there and then back out there and then back out there again.
And we'll cover this in more depth
Yeah.
nearer the Fringe, because right now, while you can have it in the back of your mind and it's part of your budgeting, you're not going to be printing those posters now.
That's true.
I'm just putting the link about postering on here. It's actually on our website. It's under the during the Fringe section because it's something that comes to life during August when there's actually loads of other things you can do in advance. I'm just going to pop that in and then I've got some more questions.
Cool.
So bear with me, just pasting that in. So we've covered posters. I guess there's lots of... If we had to give tips, if people's budget are small or they have little to no marketing, what would you prioritize? Obviously, there's stuff that is free and we can cover that. But if you had a limited budget, what things would you pay for?
It's a spoiler for something we've got coming up later, but images, I would 100%.
Absolutely.
Best money I spent in doing my show. Because they can really help you get noticed or help you get picked up. Anyone who wants to give you coverage is going to want images to go along with that. Anyone who's just looking at lots of copy is going to want like an image that pulls them in first.
Yeah, so I was just about to say there, like, for all its kind of issues at the moment, journalism is a visual medium. We need nice things to look at as well as good words to read. So think about a kind of strong image you can get put together.
And you can use that imagery on what is one of the most iconic and well-known forms of marketing at the Fringe, which is flyering.
Yes.
Which is one of the most important parts of tools in your toolkit, isn't it?
Yeah. But then also, so that your flyer, but then also you're going to want an online presence, which is essentially your online flyer. And Daniel, you'll know from managing our social media, how important it is to have an image that goes along with what you want to say.
Yeah, you can use that flyer image on social media, and there's loads of ways you can do that. And I'll go into them in more depth
And
next.
be consistent with your images. Don't have lots of different images for lots of different things. Like if it's on your flyer, it has to be on your poster, it has to be on your social media so people can recognize you.
Your flyer, I always say this top tip, it very rarely costs that much more to make it double-sided. It's pretty much, I mean, I remember being surprised by how negligible the difference was between getting it printed on one side and getting it double-sided. And why I say that is it means the front of your flyer can almost be like a simplified version of your poster. It can just be that one striking image, and then all of the information about where to find the show, etc., can go on the back. And it allows just like anytime we give advice on images, it tends to be like simplify it down, take information off rather than put it on.
Yeah.
Just checking that we had lots of other questions about budget, about social, and I was just going to say that next Monday we have a dedicated hour of all the ins and outs of social media, because there are so many different ways you can use social media to build a buzz, to get people to hear your show, and also importantly to encourage them to talk about your show, because your audience members are some of your best advocates.
Yeah. So Daniel, we need you now because the next slide is all you.
This is an exclusive as well. Yeah. This is never
absolute exclusive.
So before we go to it, obviously, with so many shows at the Fringe, there's a huge challenge both for you as artists to get your name out there, but also as people visiting the Fringe. You know, they encounter the program with thousands of shows on the website, and they're filtering through the shows. So this year, we've been exploring a number of ways that people can discover something different and something new. So if we jump ahead, I was going to say a drum roll, but skip ahead. It is a drawing, but this is coming very soon. This has not been revealed to general public, so this is an exclusive for Fringe artists at this point.
How much content do you want on the screen, Daniel? I don't know how surprising we're trying to be.
Go for all of them. Go for all the bullet points, and I'll talk it through. Essentially, the Inspiration Machine is a tool that allows people coming to the Fringe to find a show at random. So they either go up to this machine, which will be a real physical machine out on the streets of Edinburgh, where they hit the button and it will show them a show at random. And what it will show them is a short 10-second video pitch about the show, where you as an artist has to encourage someone to come see your show. These will be captioned, so people who can't hear will be able to see it. This box will also be replicated online, and we'll be pushing this really heavily on social media. And the reason we do this is that, like we said at the start, we can't promote individual shows, but what we can do is promote platforms where people can discover shows on an equal basis. But obviously with this, you're going to want to stand out. So if you submit a video, people are going to see what you're going to do.
Please note you're already using step one, which was your pitch, being able to know what about your show works.
Exactly, and this is obviously not available to the public yet. We're going to reveal this as we build up to the Fringe, but very shortly we're going to get in touch with you by the email address of your media contact about the ways you can upload this video. And this is pretty much uploaded through your phone. It's going to be quick and simple. We're not looking for all the bells and the whistles and the bubbles and this high-tech pitch. We're looking for something quick and simple that's going to grab someone's attention. And this is just one of the many ways we're going to use these videos to help build up the excitement for this year's Fringe.
Do you know my thing on this is, like, I know we've been talking about this, like kind of the business side of your brain, but remember, you're all artists at the end of the day, and the reason you're bringing the show to the Fringe, I imagine, is because you're a creative person. So when it comes to your pitch, please don't suddenly feel sort of neutered by the idea of like, oh, I need to make a sales pitch for my show. Be creative. It's what you're good at. Like, absolutely do something that only you can do.
And bearing in mind, this is just another thing that comes as the service that we provide. Like, there's no extra charge for this. This is a free tool to get noticed. And we're going to push this really heavily to people coming to the Fringe. So the chance are your video is going to pop up several, like, you know, I can't put a number, lots and lots of times. People are going to see your show, and you may see on there, they'll also be shown how to get tickets for it, or, you know, how many more shows they can look at. And this is all designed so if your show is happening, you know, that evening, they're going to get a recommendation. If you're doing the first week of the Fringe, we're not going to give it to someone in the third week to disappoint them. So it's going to be sort of tailored to put the shows that are going to happen soon to the person looking at the machine. So you're likely to draw people's attention that way.
And where can people find the Inspiration Machine?
You can't right now. It's top secret.
Oh, man.
So you're getting it exclusive, but not the full.
Very soon. So ahead of the launch of the program, we're going to send out the secret link for you to upload your video.
Secret link. Love how like.
I just had a question come through from Karen who says she hasn't got any video or sound. If you have that, typically on YouTube, just refresh the page and it will come up. But if you have missed things, as we said at the start, this session is entirely recorded along with the live chat, so you can catch up later. So we have a few things to power on through. We've got about 14 minutes to wrap this up.
We can do it. I believe in us. The next one, very simple, is who's your audience. So we've talked a lot about what your show is, what's your hook. It's equally important to know, once you've established that, who's it for? The answer is never everyone.
Nope.
Never. There are people out there that don't like Beyonce. I personally don't trust those people, but they exist.
And I agree.
But it's true. Like, nothing is ever going to appeal to everyone. So it's about understanding who you're targeting and going after them. So we've talked a lot in this session already about maybe time commitments, money commitments, but also like your energy is vitally important, and you want to be throwing that energy in the right direction.
Exactly.
So this can be everything from like, oh, you're standing flyering on the Royal Mile, which is like maybe very tourist heavy or very family friendly, and actually your show is a really beautiful, obscure, niche dance piece.
Yes.
That's probably not the best place for you to flyer.
No.
So do you know what I mean? It's the fundamentals of knowing your audience means you know where you're marketing to.
And it's a lot of questions have come in about where should we go? And because
Great
that's so
question.
individual to your show,
Yes.
that's one where we definitely recommend getting in touch with media advice at edfringe.com, telling us about your show in that succinct story pitch as you've got. And we can't recommend venues, we can't recommend places as such, but we can say maybe look at places with similar work, or maybe think this is a place that typically is aimed at families and children's shows.
Yeah.
So don't go there.
And that's what we say, like, being niche is, there is no better place to be niche than the Fringe.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
our audience, my goodness, they're diverse. Like, in every sense, like, of, just sheer looking at the scope of the program, from everything from exhibitions to spoken word to stand-up to dance. Like, we run the gamut. So you want to find your niche and find those other shows. Because I'll be very surprised if you're so niche that there's no one doing something like you.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, if you have a show, for example, that uses amazing costumes or fantastic puppets or stuff, get out there and be visible.
Don't just hide them in a wardrobe.
No, don't hide them away. Get them out onto the street. Have the puppets flyering for you. We've had people do that before.
But this also goes to, like, if you've got some budget and you want to do some advertising somewhere, you don't want to be advertising. Like, I imagine, Amy, The Skinny is going to have a very different audience to maybe like The Times.
Yeah, we're 18 to 35, so it's generally younger people with somewhat disposable income, maybe no dependents, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and any sort of people offering advertising will know that. They'll be able to give you that information. So you have to, so basically, it's the theme of this session. It's do your research. So is when those opportunities come up, or down the line you're having to make a decision about how to spend that budget, you know where you're targeting it to. And it doesn't have to be so specific of like, oh, it's Brenda at number 42. It's just like, oh, it's Brenda and people like her. That's who you want to like zero in on. Something I always say about audiences is don't leave behind the people who've always supported you. Whether that's like a local audience, like we did stuff in our local paper, and I'm from like Southwest Scotland. So many people were up at the Fringe that I just assumed wouldn't be. So rally the people who already like you, like people who've enjoyed your work before.
Yeah.
So next up, we talked about if you had a limited budget to spend, you'd spend it on imagery and video, or just imagery. Well, here we go, imagery and video. So if you've registered your show, you've already submitted an image for the printed program and on edfringe.com, but there's loads of other places you could use these images on there.
Yeah. And I would say that consistency is really important. So if something is in the printed program, on your online listing, on edfringe.com, on the app, in all of your social media, on a poster, on a flyer, suddenly, if I've seen that show, like I've seen it like 4 times, and you find yourself in August being like, what's what's that show with the guy who's got like a pineapple?
With the pineapple that's on fire.
Yeah.
Punching an inflatable dolphin.
Yeah.
You will remember that even if you've put 5 posters up, someone will see that and spot the pattern.
Yeah.
That consistency is really key. We've added video on here as well. This doesn't have to be polished. Stuff you shoot on your phone and just pop onto social media is absolutely fine. And if you weren't aware of it already, your show listing on edfringe.com can include social media links, such as your YouTube or your Twitter accounts, so it can connect audiences who are looking about what kind of shows they want to see with you, so they can already get a feel for what you're about. And we'll talk about more about that on Monday. Of course, I'd mention social media. It is my favourite thing.
I always talk about pimping your listing up. Sorry if that's not the right term, but I can't think of the
Dressing your
dressing
listing
it
up.
up.
There you go.
I'm so like late 90s MTV. But basically, you'll notice if you go and look on some listings now, some listings will literally be the bare bones of the essentials that they need. Whereas some of them, you click more information, they'll have their Twitter feed, they'll have a video, they'll have some SoundCloud links. And it's that thing of all that stuff's absolutely free. You're not paying anything extra to get it up there.
Might as well use it.
Yeah, make sure your listing is doing the work for you.
So next, we've had a few questions, but I'm going to tackle them all in the question section at the end.
Okay.
Cool.
But
Because this
next,
is the last...
yes, that's kind of the last
main
slide.
slide.
Joining the conversation.
So Daniel, this is kind of... we're giving you the challenge to sort of lightly graze on social media to get people intrigued.
It's kind
for
of a,
Monday's
it's kind of a
session.
plug for Monday. But we talked about the kind of the timeline of what you should be doing, and designing your flyers and contacting media is really important. But right now, it's completely free to make sure your social media is up to scratch. So if you don't have the channels, think about setting them up. Probably don't go and do it right now. Just tune in on Monday and we can talk about that in more detail. But if you do have them, just starting to talk about your Fringe story, doing your story pitches, using the Fringe hashtag, which this year is #MakeYourFringe. And just do look at the Fringe Twitter, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of here, for the ways we're talking about the Fringe, because we're directing people to look at the Make Your Fringe hashtag and see how people are starting to make their shows and develop in rehearsals or build props or start traveling to Edinburgh. It's a really quick and easy way to start building that buzz.
Yeah, and conversation is just the right... Like, this applies to social media, but also to the real world.
Yes.
You want to start...
Social media is real.
Yeah.
It's the real world.
Totally, Daniel. We keep telling you that.
Of course it is, darling.
Go back to the cupboard. No, like what I mean is like you need to just start with marketing. You need to start talking about your show in a human way as part of a conversation. It's not, Amy, you always say something I really like about things are quite a reciprocal process. It's not just like, you don't just talk to someone in a way of like, oh, I need coverage, so
you
give me
need
it.
to do this for me.
Yeah.
Like, no, I am not part of your marketing team. And I had somebody recently email me about a show they wanted me to review in London, and obviously I'm not in London, so I emailed back very politely, said, I'm very sorry, no, I can't attend. And they emailed back and they're like, okay, cool. Do you know any journalists in London, or could you maybe like tweet about us or do something or do this? And I was like, I'm not part of your marketing team. I'm not involved.
Whereas
Stop telling me
actually,
to do stuff.
if people reply and just be like, oh, that's cool, what kind of shows do you like? Or like actually engage in a conversation so as, oh, you can't help me now, but actually
And I
I'm
always say in
interested
these emails, if it's somewhere I don't cover, I say, oh, but if you're coming up to Edinburgh, please let me know. So I leave the door open.
And or to say, for that Twitter example, there are loads of people who have already started booking their flights or their trains or or whatever. They've already starting to plan their Fringe trip. So there's nothing wrong with you following them or liking the fact they're coming to the Fringe, but just avoid that broadcasting. Don't just, what they say, I've just booked my car hire, and then replying to them in all
great,
caps.
you should see my show at venue name. Like,
or
no,
asking other people like asking people like celebrities to like retweet you or something. I'm like, remember all the people who you have got interested in your show and who follow you
would retweet you.
Yeah, their timeline though is then just going to be you asking other people to. Whereas instead, something I was always amazed by when I first did the show is how much people are fascinated by the Fringe. Like people who you don't expect to be fascinated by the Fringe. So things that feel to you like, oh my goodness, I have so much to do, or this is a really mundane thing I have to do. Suddenly telling other people or sharing that, like, oh, I'm having to go through this stage to sort my venue. People are interested by that.
Yeah. And speaking about connecting, I've just shared a link in the live chat to our exclusive Fringe Artist Facebook group, which is a closed group. So when you go to apply, it will ask you a few questions about your show and your venue. And this is a great place to share resources, but it's another place to not be broadcasting like, hey, come see my show, because there are thousands of other artists like you. Instead, it's a place to find people, to see what they're doing or ask questions or share advice, but it's not a place just to shout, come see me, because we know it doesn't work.
And you know what, linking this back to flyering, I always say flyering should be a conversation, not like shouting at someone. So actually, if you can be like, oh, what kind of shows are you interested in? And suddenly you're like, oh, I'm having a conversation and talking about other shows you've liked. Like actually, a lot of your marketing will be in a queue for the bar, waiting to go into a show. Like it's like covert ninja marketing where you don't even realize you're doing it, but actually all those conversations, building those networks, are how you have a successful Fringe.
Exactly.
So I said I would power through the questions
Okay.
I've got left. So Susie asked any advice about how to gain traction on Twitter, and I would say tune in on Monday. Of course I would. Next question is, I'm on at 2 p.m. When is the best time to give out flyers? Probably one of those topics where there isn't a set answer, but you can give guidance.
Yeah, I would say it tends to be a couple of hours before your show.
That's right.
So that's when people tend to be around. You don't want to flyer for ages before your show, but I would say experiment with different times of day to see if stuff works for you. So in general, I'd say maybe like 11 till 1 would be a good sort of sweet spot for you, but lots of factors will go into that. So maybe try a couple of days being like, okay, we're actually going to go out and flyer from 3 till 4 and catch the people who are around and seeing shows, and maybe the next day could be going to see it. Particularly, I always say if your show is on pre-midday or pre-1 o'clock, you're really going to get a lot of people. It's as simple as being like, hey, do you have anything planned for tomorrow? Why don't you start your day with us? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I've got one question, because time is marching on. I just need one example. Sorry to put you on the spot. It's from Shelby. What have been some of the best tactics you've seen different companies use? Maybe something more unusual.
I've got one. Shelby. It was someone had a bit of a crisis and lost all their flyers. And instead of panic and sort of freak out about that, they were a magician and they had magic in the show. So they got playing cards, just a normal pack of playing cards, gave them out as like a, hi, I've lost all my flyers. And actually what they did is they managed to get like, every conversation they had was starting a story about them having lost their flyers, but then it related back to their show. So it was a really organic way of having a conversation and also giving a bit of like a human angle to like, oh, I've had a bit of a crisis here. And it was the best turning of a negative into a positive I've ever seen.
Gosh, I think. I remember once getting stopped by a guy who's like, do you want to see my show about the time a great white shark ate both my arms? And this man had 2 arms that were definitely his own. And I just went, yeah, I actually want to see your show. So he told me a blatant lie. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I'm obviously going to say a social media one, aren't I? I did. It's just hearing stories from artists who've tried different things out. So they've tried physical flying, but then they've said, I just sat in a coffee shop and just started seeing who was talking about the Fringe and just started a conversation with them, and I got people into the show.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
They were really good. Sorry, too close to that.
But all those examples are low cost or free. It's not necessarily doing something big and flashy. It's just doing something a bit different. And as a Fringe artist, you're amongst some of the most creative people in the world to use that creativity.
Yeah. And the people I see year after year that I think do well are the ones that sort of remain grounded but very creative. So they're very aware of they cut the hyperbole out and they're just themselves.
I thought of another one, but I don't know if we've run out of time.
Go ahead.
I was in a venue and there was a letter, an envelope in full view, and written on it said passing stranger. So I was like, well, I just have to. And I opened it, and it was a letter from somebody who was meant to be flying for a show, and they said, listen, I find flying very, very awkward, but... And they basically spoke about the show. And I was so touched. I was like, oh my God, this was so nice. With a handwritten letter. It was so beautifully written. And it was just perfect.
And again, it's that thing of someone's just taken a negative, made it a positive.
Yeah. Said, I'm too anxious. I can't do this. This is what I'm doing.
More questions came in. One from Mimi, which I will just answer. I have a big brain costume. Should I wear it while I fly
Yes.
back? Good. One from Pippa saying, can we do street shows for promotion during the Fringe? Yes, I've popped a link in. I'm so obsessed with social media, I just said another one. Applications are open for that. I've popped the link in there. So they are some of the main questions. 2 extras. One from Mimi. How can you manage self-care during the Fringe? We'll cover that in our mental health FringeCast coming up. Mimi also asked...
Spoiler, take a break.
Take a break.
Have some water.
Mimi also asked, I'm an author, so can I sell books after my show as part of my bucket speech?
Absolutely.
Sure, why not?
Especially if it's relevant.
Yeah.
So all we have to say next is our next slide, which is because we run these sessions for you and they're different every single time, we really want to know how useful this was for you or whether there are any questions you may have that we didn't cover. I'm going to pop the link in the live chat now, but if you signed up by email, we'll also ping you an email. It takes less than a minute just to let you know how it was, and if you have a question we didn't cover, you can fill in the box to say what it was, leave your email address, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah. Something I really hope, just to sort of sign off on this session, is I really hope people have kind of got our point of we've almost been deliberately vague on some things. Like we've given you like a little dip of everything, because actually it's so much about actually thinking differently. It's about going, okay, what is my show? And hopefully, if you take anything away from this session today, it's about, okay, so we're going to get more specifics about like flyering and social media and content in the press going forward. But actually, do I need to take more time to like sit and go, right, what am I selling? What do I love about my show?
Go back to the basics.
What's my story?
And you've got time. Like there
You
is
have time
to think about this and get this right, rather than jumping into something that may not be the right fit for you. Speaking of time, there are lots of other things you can do. You can get in touch with us. If you have questions, as we said all along, you can email. I say us, it is Amy's
It is
inbox.
me.
Email.
It's very much we're throwing you in Amy's direction.
You can email mediaadvice@edfringe.com. You can also check us out on Facebook @/edfringe or on Twitter @edfringe, or our special account @Fringe Central, which is specifically focused at Fringe artists. We also have a Fringe Central Instagram as of last week, so you'll be one of the first people.
Just always get in touch. Very much just get in touch with you both. So I'll
and
just
we
say,
look forward to hearing from
I
you.
can just say hello from afar.
And in addition to emailing us or following us, you can also please do tune in to one of our next episodes. So if
Beautifully done, Daniel.
haven't mentioned it already, on Monday I am doing a session on social media and getting started with that.
I want to give a blatant plug to Parenting the Performing Arts, because it's a little bit of a different FringeCast for us. It's going to be a bit of a roundtable format where we just love feedback from people who are listening. But it's kind of about, are you a parent and also someone who's in the performing arts, and what are the chances of that? It's but also the opportunities of that. And basically, it's hopefully a chance for people to meet and engage with other people who are going through, like Amy, you're a mum.
I am indeed.
And I
yes.
imagine there are things that are challenging during the Fringe.
Very much so, yes.
So we hopefully just want a really open discussion about that, and hopefully can find some common ground.
At the end of the month, Amy, it's your
It's
time
me
to
again,
shine with the media.
Answering all your questions about how to reach the media, in brackets, without annoying them.
That's a very important parenthesis. And then further ahead, we've got one about promoting your show on the ground. That's very during August. That's very much about sort of flyering, photo calls, all that kind of stuff of what can you do in August. And actually, once you've done everything we've talked about today, how do you then keep things fresh? I want to do a massive plug to another team we have here at the Fringe, which is our artist advice team. Artist advice, sorry, it was awful pronunciation for me. Which is about taking your show beyond the Fringe. I know at this stage it can be very alluring to just focus on getting bums on seats, getting reviews, and just sort of getting by. But actually, you don't want to get to August and be like, actually, I really love this show and I really want it to have a life after the Fringe. We have a whole team that can talk about how you engage bookers and agents and venues and other festivals that may want to take that work or you further in your career. So if you any questions, go to artistadvice@edfringe.com and join us for the session on taking your show beyond the Fringe.
For all those, I've put the link in the live chat about how to sign up for them. There is one more we haven't popped on the screen, if you don't mind just hitting the spacebar. And that is, we said before, in the weeks running up to the Fringe, we have these open chats where we have loads of members of the team in to answer any questions you may have, where you may feel like it's time to panic or something's not quite right. And we're just here to help you through that.
Which also ties into mental health at the Fringe, which tied into, I think, Mimi's question earlier about
Yes.
self-care.
Yeah.
At the 1 month to go point, so the 2nd of July, we're having a sort of mental health day check-in.
Yes.
Where that whole day we're going to be there because we're having a massive focus this year on your mental health and well-being and how to look after that in August.
So we've overrun slightly, but it is now time for us to say goodbye. So I will turn on the webcam. I'm not going to do it without warning. So thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope it was really helpful, and hope you can join us for one of our future sessions. Obviously, the social media one would be great if you could join us. Do fill out the feedback survey, sign up for future sessions, and we look forward to meeting you in August.
And have a great Fringe, but hopefully we'll speak to you before that.
Bye.
Bye.